there was a leader of a gang who was in prison and he fell in love with a trans woman. And so he said to his gang, like, I was like, I fucking rate that though. Like, he was like to his gang, he was like, well, obviously his gang were like not impressed, but that then at the same time, if your gang leader is like, yeah, boys, this is what's what,
Yeah, yeah.
and they were like, okay. I mean, that's like a huge step. Like, imagine, because usually with like the sort of characteristics of the or the stereotypes of a gang, probably not always so open to anything that's not straight sexuality.
Mhm.
Or I mean, that might be a presumption, but I don't know if you guys agree. But from what the movies tell me,
Yeah.
you know, but yeah. So like, Dom, just to give you a bit of an insight. So Jordan got in touch with me because I mean, I had a friend. I've got loads of friends over the course of the years who've told me certain things, and it's not that I've never believed them. I feel like maybe it's just that the issues got so much momentum that I've been very closed off, and I've always been quite sheltered. And one day I woke up, this girl that I follow on Instagram. She doesn't like, we've never met each other, but we know of each other. And she has an OnlyFans account, and people get in touch with her, obviously related to her work, but there's obviously, she's got a professional side, a life, and she's also got a personal life. But you know, the comments in which she was getting, like, I haven't got a great self-esteem. I wouldn't be able to handle that shit.
Mhm.
And she's like obviously not the only one, but the stuff that they were saying were just like, it was disgusting. Like it's like, it would be so polite to even say the word disgusting. Like, I think to recall some of them were like, you'd be lucky to get raped, things like this. And I was on a date yesterday with a girl. I know we're not supposed to be on dates at the minute.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Don't tell Bojo, okay?
No, I won't. I won't.
Rishi Sunak's going to come after me. I was on a date yesterday, and I'd been chatting to this girl, and when I put up this, sorry Dom, when I put up this this post, at the end I was like, you know, bearing in mind it was a very very long post, I was like, I'd be interested to see how many guys have watched this to the end versus how many girls have watched this to the end, and I did get some responses from some guys, but the list all morning, it was an emotionally heavy day, but the list of women coming back to me, either just saying thank you for just putting it out there amongst guys,
Mhm.
because not many guys I'd felt had really said much, given Sarah's death. This is in relation to Sarah's death as well.
Yeah.
And then some of them were telling me their stories, and this girl who I went on a date with yesterday, she was like telling me some of the stories, and she, as a person, her personality has been entirely pretty much shaped around the experiences she's had with guys. And you know, she said, you know, I'm very conservative when it comes to meeting people or dating new people, and we've been speaking a while, so you know, and we'd had a couple of FaceTimes, and she felt comfortable meeting me. But whilst we were actually on our date, we were sitting on a bench, and three lads walked down, and one of them's like carrying a rugby ball. The kind of like, I love rugby, but there's a sort of issue that's coming, that's like this sort of toxic masculinity of like rugby lads,
Yeah.
you know, with too much testosterone. But this one guy, as we're walking past, he just said, he must have been talking about some girl, and he was just like, do you know what? She just needs a good dicking. And I was like, fuck me. Like, I didn't, maybe if it wasn't for the more recent events, and I hadn't necessarily like really started to like keep an ear out, because I think I told myself, you know, when, you know, I'm not the problem. I'm not the problem. And then I had to like stop, and I was like, hold on, give the argument just a little bit of thought.
Yeah.
Like, give it, try and be unbiased here, Charlie. Have you done anything that fits anywhere within these categories? Or have you ever met someone or known something to have happened? And the more I thought about it, and I had to be honest with myself, the more I was like, yeah, yes, there are definitely things in which I will have contributed to this problem. And I think the majority of guys will have done in some way. And yeah, so it really made me think. I was like, fuck me, like, it did. I was like, this is now I'm getting to hear this, and this doesn't sound so benign to a regular male conversation. I was talking about it as well with a friend today. I promise I won't talk for too long. Sorry. But I was explaining, like, I'm going to have this conversation with these guys there later this evening. And yeah, we were just chatting about it. And it's mental to think, like, yeah, earlier in my youth, I have said things, but this was the point I was going to make. Yeah, so I've said things that I realise now are probably bad. Maybe not directly to women, but maybe contribute to a problem that I didn't think other people might take seriously, but might. I wouldn't say educate in the wrong way.
Yeah.
People, yeah. But I had to think about it because, they always say, like, it's the likelihood, if it's not you, then it's your friends. And I was like, I've got to really think about this. Now, I'm lucky in the sense that I have a very, very small, close group network of friends, like, that I talk to on a day-to-day. And I mean, two of the guys are just too shy to talk to girls anyway. So but they're nice. They're really, really, like, genuine, nice lads. I've seen their Tinder messages. It's honestly, it's poetry.
Yeah.
It's super respectful. And I'm actually staying in one of the guys' houses with one of our female uni friends who was part of our group, and it's kind of one of those Chandler and Monica situations there,
Nice.
But it was nice to think, like, of my friendship group. I think if it was going to be anyone, it would have been me who would have been the worst when it comes to all of those bullet points.
Yeah.
And so yeah, Jordan reached out to me and said, let's have a chat about this. And I think it is probably the right, maybe even in the gym, it's probably not a bad place to talk about it.
I think anywhere is the right place to talk about it, as long as it doesn't turn toxic and as long as it doesn't turn into almost too laddie conversation. Because I think in a very laddie group of people, it quickly turns into a joke, and it quickly turns into, this is not serious. This is something that just, like, gets spread around, and then it gets closed up again, and then we move on. And then in a few years, it opens back up again, then it closes back down, then it moves on. But going back to what you were saying about the whole, when you heard that guy say that comment, that's something I wanted to start off with massively, because I think that is a big root of the problem, is not calling your boys out, is not hearing something in the street. Because if I'm honest with you, if years and years ago, I would 100% have said something like that. I would have said something similar to them comments. But now, if I was caught saying that stuff and a random guy come over and was like, but, like, respectfully though, came over and said, mate, by the way, this is out of order, you shouldn't be saying this sort of language, I'd probably, like, well up a bit. I'd be like, you know what, mate, like, you're right. You are right. Like, this is disgusting. So then, like, I just wanted to ask you guys, obviously we have to call our friends out, yeah, obviously, but when things open back up and when, like, the shackles get like taken off, should lads be more open with each other when we hear that stuff, so then it doesn't turn into confrontation, it doesn't turn into a scrap, it's just a lad looking out for a lad before a woman gets seriously hurt or gets seriously violated?
Yeah, and I've got a sister as well, so, like, you never know who it could affect. You could, like, for instance, that's the thing. It was me, this girl on the date. I'm sure she would have fucking loved it if I probably said something. And there is also that sort of it's easy for me to not say anything.
Yeah.
It's so easy for me to, which I did. So, like, and obviously we spoke about it. I was like, in fact, I kind of, like, laughed. It was a toneful, sarcastic, like, fucking hell kind of thing. Like, when he walked past, hopefully that he'd hear it. But as you said, like, there are these guys, because there's people like us who are maybe, have a sort of sense of maturity and a sense of being like, it's okay to just throw up your hands and be like, you know what I did was wrong. What I just said was wrong and whatnot. But with these three guys that you've never met, and it's like, who the fuck is this guy coming over and telling me what to do, even though they know they're wrong? And I think you're right. But you never know. Maybe if I'd said that to him, his mates would have said, actually, yeah, mate, that comment was actually a little bit too far. Like, I wouldn't say that. And before you know it, like, maybe that would be like a real, like, because if your boys call, like, if your mates, lad mates, right? I'm not like a lad, but I've got friends who are like, we're boys. But if I had a friend who was like, nah, you shouldn't be saying that. Like, someone who, like, a friend is disappointed in something that you said, like, that would fucking stick with my conscience for weeks. That's the shit that keeps me up at night, just when you're falling asleep. Remember that comment that you said and all of your friends thought you were a dickhead? Yeah, I think maybe the issue is going to just be that lad culture, breaking that lad culture. If you're at a pub and you hear it and you're at the bar and you just turn to him, it's like, hey, mate, that's just really uncalled for.
Yeah.
And all of his mates turn around and it's like, it's the good fight, it's the hard fight, but it's the necessary fight.
100%.
I think it's not purely just like having a conversation. It doesn't. It's not about the dynamics of males in general. It's about how you have the conversation. And I think it's if you pull someone out on something, no one in this world is going to go, oh, you know what, you're right. I'm going to listen to exactly everything you're about to tell me. I'm in the wrong, because everyone's ego gets in the way and they're like, why are you pulling me up on this? I think the thing is, what you have to do is spark the conversation about it, have a philosophical conversation about it that actually like we have now. If you're talking about the remarks of what that lad said, have this conversation within your own friendship groups and say, look, I heard something which is playing on my head at the moment quite a bit, and I'm just thinking, what are your thoughts on this? I have a mate here who does psychology, and if I have a conversation about something, he will put in a question and be like, okay, so why do you think this? If it is the relation to like remarks we say about women. I actually had a conversation with my sister the other day, and I said, like, my social hardwiring about masculinity is stopping me from progressing in life. And I said, I feel like such a excuse the remark at the moment, but I said I feel like such a pussy. And she went, what? She didn't go, don't say that. She went, okay, let's not use the word pussy, let's try words like that. And I was like, crap, yeah, because that has an instant connotation with weakness, which then relates to a female, and then you're like, oh god, I've got to check myself even on just little things like that. So I said to her, let's try to think of a different word that helps with that, that feeling. And it's just like little things like that. You can have those conversations with your family quite easily because you don't feel like they're trying to pull you out in front of everyone and make you feel stupid. But I think with lads, there's such an ego-driven thing where if you call them out, that's where it kicks off. And this is the conversation we had about lad culture before. Like, it's a delicate situation, I would say.
Something I did want to touch upon is a heavy loaded question is just, why does it happen? Why does sexual assault, sexual harassment, anything towards a woman, why? Like, I just don't get it.
Well, that's the thing. I don't have the answer either, because I'm sat here thinking the exact same thing. I think because I've got a sister, I don't know. I never really had the talk of the birds and the bees with my parents, and I watched my good fair share of porn and as a teenager.
Same.
But never, with all the lovely subcategories and the genres of porn, like with the doms and the subs, I love it all. Never did I really think like outside of a bedroom, unless it was like consensual and shit, obviously in a bed.
Yeah.
That I'd ever like. If a girl says no, like I never like, if she says no, it's like, put it this way, white van man. What do they call it? Beeping at girls.
Catcalling, no?
Catcalling. Right. Yeah. Like how, like I would be really intrigued to see if there was some sort of statistic. Obviously we can't formulate a statistic, but like if there was an almighty power that could just rain down statistics, how many girls have turned around and thought, oh, do you know what? Yeah, when you put it like that, fuck it. Yeah, banging. Let's hop in your van and let's go somewhere. Like, it's a method that's never worked, clearly for a reason, that like it's fucking creepy, and it's not nice. And when guys, I had another friend as well, like yesterday, she had on her Instagram story, she was filming because she knew she could probably tell something was going to happen. So this guy across the road with a bike was asking for her number because she was outside having a cigarette. And she was just like, no, just being like, in this tone, no. Oh, that's very kind, but no, sorry, no. And then this was like, probably this conversation's going on for about 25 seconds. And then she stops recording just because he gets his bike and he starts walking over the road to her. Like, why can't you take no for an answer? Like, where do you think that's going to go? Like, as a guy, where do you think she's going to be like, well, since you've crossed the road for me with your bike, Ian, 45, 15 years older than me, or what have you, like, where do you think a woman's standpoint is going to find that like romantic? Another point of this, while I was having this conversation with this girl I was on this date with, was the film 365, which I don't know if you've seen it or heard about it.
No.
So I haven't seen it. I've seen sex scenes from it. Mm-hmm. And so I was having this debate with her, because essentially, to give a very quick premise, a guy kidnaps a girl to try and get sort of Stockholm syndrome. Now the guy is a very rich man and very good looking, and the sex scenes in it are very BDSM. And a lot of women were saying like, oh, this shit is so hot, like it's so sexy. But for me, I was like, so I asked her, I was like, okay, but where do you sort of stand on this? Because like this fully promotes rape culture. And whilst girls might see it and think this is really sexy, and saying like, like posted on an Instagram story, like, oh, this is amazing. At the end of the day, everyone knows this is a film.
Yeah.
Everyone knows it's a film, and everyone knows this is actors. This isn't real life. If we saw this as like CCTV footage, it'd be a very, very different story, regardless as to however attractive the people are involved. But the problem is, men are stupid, and so, we can be a little bit dim-witted here and there, right? And so, what it might say to guys who are seeing this on Instagram stories from girls are like, do you know what? This is how I'll get the girl. Because even if she says no, like she does in the film, all I have to do is just grab her by the waist, pull her around, put her up against a wall, and apparently they love that, even though they're saying no. And that's what I think is so fucking dangerous. It's just, there needs to be a bit more common sense.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think that's what I've spoken to, like a few girls over the, like, obviously, like a few years ago, like, and most recently, and they say it's the most creepiest thing a guy could almost do is being out and then scooching past someone, but like doing it in such a way where it's so creepy. But that lad's thinking, if I just grab the hips whilst I'm scooching past, she'll turn around and she'll notice me, and we'll have this like fireworks going off, and there'll be a kiss, and it'll be because they've seen it in the movies, because they've seen it in porn, so they think it's going to happen. But that happens all the time. Obviously, we don't see it, we don't feel it, because obviously it's other lads out there like doing that sort of stuff. But how do we police that? And like I've seen like the recent number 10 Downing Street putting like 25 million pound to support CCTV and extra lighting, and they're also going to put normal dressed clothed police officers in bars and clubs to police that situation. Now, to me, that doesn't stop it. I don't know, like, if you agree with that. I think light CCTV in more dark areas, that definitely does have some sort of effect, because like CCTV would then catch people doing that. But putting
Catches it, but it doesn't stop it from happening.
Exactly. And then again, I spoke to a girl today, and like I was telling her like about this, and she just said, "Look, it's never gonna stop." And it crushed my inside so much, because I was like, "But it has to stop." Like, do you know what I mean? It has to. And then if a girl's saying it's not going to stop, that to me just shows that she's got no hope in men. She's got nothing left for any of us. And like, I don't know about you, but like, I've seen like a lot of people say stuff like, and making a joke of it, by the way, is that when they are now walking behind a girl, even just walking home, walking to the bus, whatever it is, they feel sorry for the girl in front, because they don't want the girl in front thinking that we're going to do something. Now, I have felt that. Like, I have felt thinking, oh, shit.
You cross the road if you can.
Yeah, exactly. But then, like, you're not going to say, oh, I'm not a predator. That sort of stuff. Obviously, like, you say it in your head where you're like, I'm not that guy, but I don't want you to think that I am that guy. So then how do we even go about changing that sort of culture? Because girls just do not feel safe. Girls have to carry keys in their knuckles. They have to share the location with their friends when they get in taxis.
Let me know when you get home.
And we just go out.
Yeah, like doesn't like I will get home. Like I had some friends be like, "Let us know if you get home safe." I was like,
"What
do you think's going to happen to me?" Wow. But going back and you know, I'm sure Dominic, you'll agree with me. I'm not a great dancer, but some of like this, you know, coming back to what you were saying of like, you know, I don't understand certain things. When I turned 18, I went out clubbing. I went clubbing out all the time. I loved it. I could go dancing. I was getting with girls. It was amazing. But one thing I could never get onto, and all like the friends, you know, not necessarily the friends that I had, but actually, yeah, maybe the friends in like first year of uni. I could never understand this, right?
Uh-huh.
So if you want to get with a girl, you got to start dancing up from behind her. And then she's got to look at her friend, and her friend's got to give her the nod and be like, yeah, he seems all right. Or they got to like scathingly brush you off. I was like, how fucking weird is it to like go up behind someone you've never met in a dark room and just, because like, especially as Dominic will know, a lot of the rhythm is in the hips. And that's so like, it's so sexual, but it's like that to me, I couldn't get behind it. And I'm a very dad dancer. So I'd like to go up to them and try and that's about as the extent of it. And you don't go further until you know that there's a connection sort of established. I don't know if this is going to be, has it been able to extend this conversation?
Yeah, I've just extended it.
Oh, cracking. So yeah, coming on to your point, yeah, I like back to your point on like this whole policemen in clubs. I agree with you. I think what it does is it would help catch someone, but let's be real. After a couple of drinks, some men aren't thinking. We aren't thinking like, You know, there's CCTV. The action's already done. I hate to relate it to motorsport because I love motorsport and it's a really weird topic, but consider this your analogy. In a Formula One race, if one car takes out another car, the car that took out the other car gets a penalty. However, the car that's taken out is still taken out.
Yeah.
They don't get any points. They don't get any repercussions from that. The damage is already done.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So I think this is why I know this is why we're here. This is why we're talking about it. Is it's not going to come from the undercover coppers, and there's going to be so many dudes who are just going to be like, "Fuck you, you're a cop." You know, I'm going to take you on and whatnot. It's going to be the mates sitting next to them being like, "Why the fuck do you do that?"
Yeah, it is.
I have a sort of theory that I think would help males appreciate females and other people, or whatever you identify as. But females for this term, I think there needs to be strong female figures within a young lad's upbringing, because I know from personal experience. Am I still lagging, by the way?
A little bit, yeah.
Tiny bit, but it is better.
But I've been raised by a lot of females, and I've got two major males in my family, my godfather and my dad. But the rest are females, godmother, whatever. But you know, I don't know how to narrow this down, but they normalize like conversations like talking about the time of the month, something like that. You know, like other men that aren't open to female conversations like that they're repulsed by it because they're like, what? I don't want to know about that. But if your upbringing is you're used to those conversations, now what I'm trying to relate to is the fact that young lads need to be shown this is wrong, this is a better way. Because if you've got a dad that is, and it links, I think the lad culture and the conversation we're having at the moment, they cross. Because I think if you've got a dad that, you know, is all about, I'm going to stereotype here, have a beer, watch some football, she looks great, what a cracking ass, or some shit like that. But you haven't got a strong male figure that goes, look, this is a woman, and this is, if you're wanting to build a strong relationship with a female, there is much more than you just gawking at her or, you know, referring to her as this. And I've watched many relationships with my sister and my mother where the men haven't respected the females they're with. They don't hold them up in high esteem. They don't respect what, I'm talking about a male and female relationship, obviously, but whichever it might be. We need to show basically younger males that you need to value what you, I'm talking in relationships now, but you need to value the females that you're with at this time, you know, that it doesn't link. You can't just keep referring to females as like a piece of meat through your whole life. There's a level of maturity. Yeah, I'm lagging like hell, aren't I?
Just a tad.
But we can still.
What I'm trying to say is basically, it's just a bit staccato. I'm trying to get like to the nitty gritty, but I think in my family, I know what values the females in my family have.
Yeah.
Because obviously I'm not looking at them in a sexual way.
Yeah.
So my respect for them is the fact of their intellect, how they're driven, how they move in life, what their morals are, stuff like that. If you could teach younger males those lessons, then they're going to go into the next phase of their life with those same attitudes.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think you're going to get rid of, like, I don't think you're ever going to get rid of sexual harassment completely. Because at the core of all of us, people are animals, and some people don't think deep enough. But I think a way of stopping it and preventing the amount of, sexual harassment that goes on is teaching people about respect, especially in younger males. And I've had those things. I went to Ayia Napa, the typical lad's holiday, and I had that same thing about, dancing up on someone, and I felt really uncomfortable because there was the peer pressure that was what you should do, and I was like, I'm here dancing to music. That's what I want to do. If someone wants to dance with me, then yeah, go ahead. If you've got the moves to dance with me, if you can. No, I'm joking.
Handle it.
But that I think, and like I should have said, no, I don't think this is right. And I think it's giving yourself that confidence to say this isn't right. You can't just go dancing up and bumping and grinding on someone and assume that that's okay. You can't invade someone's personal space.
No.
Obviously, there's a level of like that. I'm quite a spiritual guy. There's that spiritual connection, and if you know that that's what's going to happen, it's about instincts as well. But if it's like bumping and grinding at people, that's something that you need to check in, and it's conversations we need to have with our mates as well.
I think, I think you're spot on. And the best way to introduce that has got to be through school.
Yeah.
Because like my sex education was pretty bland. We didn't really learn about periods at all. In fact, I hardly even remember what we learned about. For me, a lot of it was just figuring it out for myself.
Yeah.
Now I'm very interested in sex. Sex interests me a lot. So I like the ins and outs of it, pardon the pun. But yeah, like if we were to have in a curriculum, along with not just, let's say, the biological standpoint, but more the sort of social aspect from it all, then we probably we may see. I mean, there's no harm in trying it. That's the thing. Like, there's no harm in trying to say, like, okay, so lads, and as well as, like, you get that lad teacher, usually probably like the PE teacher, right? The one who's like their coach, the one that they look up to, who shows them how to, like, be aggressive on the field, like, fucking give it your all. He swears as well, and you're like, he's cool. Let's in front of him as well. Now, lads, right? You're with your friends. I know that you like to go and meet up with, like, some girls on from the east side of town and whatnot. I don't need to know who. Yeah. Michael, you're at the back. Yeah. Anyway, now, in theory, right? Where do you guys like to hang out? The park? Brilliant. All right. Now, what happens here? And then if some, you'll probably find that jokey guy who calls up, you're like, oh yeah, you're putting it on with them ears, like, oh god.
Pure Geordie like.
Like, what's your method? What's your plan of attack, right? And I think, if you do get someone who's just like a kid who's just like, and I'm not trying to say, you just got to bully that kid, but like, you grab her by the hips and you take her with you into the bush, and it's like, yeah, but the thing is, mate, that's just not cool.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like, if I'm being honest, mate, it's a bit weird. I thought you were better than that. Mm-hmm. And if you have someone in a group, and a group of males will probably open up more to a group of males if there's no females in the room.
Yeah.
If you have someone who a group of males look up to as a figure, right, like that, and they give that sort of, instillment, then I do feel like something could be taken from that. It might not get everyone, but it might just give a little bit of traction to them growing up, because then at least everyone knows it's been taught. You've been taught it. You know that it's been taught, so you know it's wrong. You've got no excuse.
I honestly, mate, I 100% agree with that. It has to start in the schools. I think from a young age, parents, teachers, they all try to protect us against sex because they don't want us to grow up. They don't want us to get involved in that sort of nature of things. They want us to wait until a certain age, till potentially, I believe my first sex ed might have been like year 9, year 10. So that's like 13, 4, between 12 and 15 potentially. But I honestly think it has to come in at the start of secondary school. At year 7, 10, 11-year-old, it has to be brought in, and it has to be brought in level. So year 7, you introduce us something. Year 8, you introduce us something. Year 9, it has to be like a development stage, just so lads and lasses can learn about it a lot better and understand what to do, what not to do. And you are right about it has to come from an influential member of that staff
Because
who
you're not going to listen to a teacher that you find boring. You're just going to
you're
you're
not,
not.
you're really not. And also, I do agree that it would work in a group environment with like a group of lads, but I also think to play like devil's advocate, that wouldn't work also because you know what it's like when a lad get in a bike in a big group of lads, it's very boisterous, it's very sit at the back. I don't give a fuck what this guy says. Fucking shut up, mate. But I think a lot of things happen on a one-to-one level. If you get someone one-to-one as a young boy and you're like an older adult and you tell them the facts, the figures, you give them scenarios. This is scenario, mate. You're down the park with your mates having a drink. You fancy this girl, yeah? What's your plan of action? Make him answer. What's your move? What's your next steps? As soon as he steps out of line, that's bang out of order, mate. You can't be doing them sort of things. And this is why. Do you want to end up a part of this like statistic? Do you want to cause your friend who you've known since primary school not to feel safe anymore in your community? Is that what you really, really want? No, of course it's not what you want. It has to start in school and it also has to start in the homes. I massively believe it has to start in the home, especially with dads talking to their sons, not emulating or not figuring out the dad's behavior towards the mum. Because I know fine well that like dads around this area in the northeast are quite like degrading towards like women like in general. So I think it has to start with dads, then into schools, and then hopefully by the time they're 16, 17, going to a new group environment, they're already checking the boys. They're already saying stuff like, you shouldn't be doing that, you shouldn't be doing this.
But here's another thing as well. Who's to say, like, sex ed is a something that you learn like once or twice. It's not like a taboo subject, but it's just very vague. Probably because a lot of teachers don't want to do it because it's a bit
Yeah.
awkward. Like, it's usually someone that like, by the way, we want you to do this, and I don't think there's usually too many hands who want to do it, and a lot of them aren't even like qualified to really talk about it. Like in terms of like the facts, they're just like, oh yeah, there's a presentation you have to look through, and then just
And it's a
talk
lot of
about.
like putting like condoms on like bananas. Like that's something.
But why can't it be like a yearly thing? And each year you learn something relative to what your age group is going through. Because the girl that I was talking about, she was going through puberty at 9. Imagine how confusing as a child, hormonally, how confusing that would be when your body's doing all of that, and you're like, what the fuck is going on with me?
Yeah.
Like, you're probably not even swearing at that point, and yet you're developing all these things, and you've got these hormones and whatnot. But I do see your point of the one-on-one. But the reason why I would say in a group is because if you can see, it's that guy when he was younger at the first school disco. The girls were on one side, the guys were on one side. There was one brave man. It was probably Dom. There was one brave man. He was a free man. He was a free agent. And he walked his way across the dance floor to try and like maybe just stick up for the boys and be like, right, I'm going to make the first move. Yeah. And if it was in a group of your mates and you had this influential teacher, and like you said, you've got the cool kids at the back, maybe you've got one guy who's going to step up, and then you've got the boys at the back who are like, hey, you're just like dickhead, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. But you have that influential teacher, and that teacher says, yeah, but guys, I'd rather go down to the pub with him than you guys. What makes you think that what he's saying is wrong? Like, I'd love to know, because, like, you know, come on, give us an example then. And then, you know, you turn the lad culture on its head.
Yeah.
And you actually make the person with the right values become the most predominant male in the room. And that's what the lad culture is all about, being the big dog.
Yeah.
We've constructed that stereotype based off of values that we've created ourselves. But if we were to manipulate conversations, which sounds bad, or steer conversations in the direction where we know psychologically people learning will then be influenced, then you know, who's to say that lad culture, I'd love to say in 10 years, but who's to say that lad culture isn't often described as just being a gentleman?
What,
you know,
that it's such a crazy thing to say, because I've had conversations with my boys where you do want to be, you brought up to be a gentleman, hold doors, etc., right? Of course, all that sort of stuff, right? But yet I've had many conversations with like some lads that I know, and they don't take that approach when talking to women. It's all about being, treat them mean, keep them keen. And that's massive in my sort of area. And I'll be honest with you, lads, like, it works. For some strange reason, it works. Like, I can't do that sort of stuff. Like, I'm very much old school when it comes to like trying to talk to girls, all that sort of stuff. But it does work. Is that because the lad and who he is, or is that because the girls don't like value themselves as much? Like, why is that a contributing factor to the whole sexual harassment and sexual assault? Treat them mean, keep them keen. Is that adding to it? Because it works for some lads, and it's.
See, I said this yesterday in this context, but when I say treat them mean, keep them keen, it was more that I don't really fancy looking at my phone and replying to a text. Not so much treat them like us as shits.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And when I said it to my friends, he knew that I wasn't, you know, I wasn't, I just mean, like, I'm just really not going to respond to a text just because I can't be fucked to look at my phone right now.
Yeah.
And I think there is a combination of, you're right, I think there are some girls who, I've spoken to friends who say, you know, I don't know why, I just like being treated like shit. And maybe it's like a self-worth thing. That's a complicated issue, because, you know, to understand that, we probably have to understand the female mind, and that's that's impossible. But I mean, it's no bad thing to at least try and get to know him. And who's to say that these girls might not feel that way if guys started treating them differently, and they could actually see value in themselves, and like maybe they felt like to have a standpoint they need to be belittled. It's a crazy one. Yeah.
I think you know, that relates to a sense of like personality as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's all. I think it goes into later age, but I think when you get, like, I'm 23 now. Like, when you get a little bit older, you're sort of like, okay, I don't really care what my mates think of how I talk to this certain person. But I think, you know, a bit younger, you're like, I need to talk to them this way because this is how this is how I'm going to get a girlfriend or something like that. And you're always told, like, you know, play it cool.
Yeah.
Don't be too keen, all this. And I think if we relate it to what Charlie said about the alpha male role, is switching that conversation about what it means to be an alpha male, you know, which I believe is knowing your own personality. So when you're going into a relationship and talking to someone, doing it in your own creative way. I don't mean about manipulating someone. I mean how you will have a conversation, because there's an art to having a conversation.
Yeah.
Now, I've seen messages that I spoke to girls like years ago, and it's so like dead and boring, and I'm like, God, like I sounded like what I was meant to sound like. I was like, right, I've got to mention that I play rugby and all this. And I was like, oh God, like, no wonder no one's interested, because it's the same thing. There's no style to it. And now I'm only starting to discover more of my artistic self. But I think what I'm trying to say is change what it is to be the alpha male, because we all, I think we all get attracted to assertiveness, someone that's assured of themselves. But I think it's changing that narrative of what that is, because we all, there has to be hierarchy within any social group, or else there's no, it'll just go crazy.
Yeah.
But that treat them or whatever else, I don't know, just changing the narrative, I think will change the language of how you have those conversations.
Yeah.
And like you say, okay, well, the new alpha male in the 21st century is actually someone that knows how to have a proper conversation with the partner that they're pursuing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not forceful. It's done at with a level head, an intelligent conversation, instead of I am me and you are you, and this is how we're going to do it. You know what I mean?
Caveman style.
I completely agree with you. I'm gonna have to leave you on that, but I think that's a great note to leave on, is an introduction into the 21st century alpha male, because everything's learnt. That's what we know. If we everything's learnt. So if we change, then obviously we won't. The hardship of this all is that we're not going to see this happen. We're not going to see an effect instantly, but it will happen generationally.
Yeah.
And we can see that as well from other things. We've identified those problems. Those problems aren't necessarily being resolved, but they are recognized. But generationally speaking, if it's introduced from a young age and stamped out, or taught by a parent, then I think, you're less likely to do those things. But I'm sorry, boys. I'm gonna have to leave.
Mate, let's go. Thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate that, bro. 100%, man.
Thanks for having me on, mate.
Nice to meet you, bud.
And you. But yeah, this has been a great conversation.
Yeah, 100%. Potentially see you for the next one, mate. But enjoy the rest of your day, okay?
Cracking.
Take it easy.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, honestly, Dom, like I'd love to just like continue like a little bit if you've got the time.
Yeah, carry on.
It's just, I think the reason why I brought up the whole treat and mean, keeping keen sort of situation, I think it comes back to what we said about like being in that sort of like lad circle, because obviously like you've been in situations, I've been in situations where obviously like years ago, when you're in that environment, you're talking to a girl, the lads are there, you're showing off, do you know what I mean? Like you're trying to be like this big and brass sort of lad, and other people in the room might see you as the alpha and might see you talking to a girl in that sort of way and think that's the way to do it. That's how he does it. So I'll do it. But then if all of the lads do that, that creates a very toxic culture when talking to women, which then could potentially in later life result into sexual assault, result into sexual violence because of something that was normalized back at 14, 15-year-olds to get to an adult state, think it's okay to do this to adults, but it's taken a step too far. Do you know what I mean? It's like introduced then, but then it's the finished article of what we're brewing up here is resulted in that, in like sexual assault, sexual harassment.
And it's obviously that what then leads into sexual harassment is built off probably frustration of that way that they're trying to pursue that partner isn't working. So the next level is, as extreme as it sounds, is I have to do it by force. Some people go to that level, which is unspeakable. Like
it is.
I mean, I can only, I'm going off topic a bit here, but personally, when I see, in films when there's a male rape scene, like male rape scene, I really, it screws with my head. It screws with my head And if someone like pees themselves like on a film or something, like I'm like, oh no, because I'm like, they're losing all control. And that's the only way I can empathize with how females will feel when they watch something like that. So maybe we go in that different conversation, like the media has got to find a way of, or find different methods of how they're showing this thing. Because obviously art is meant to be uncomfortable. It's not always meant to, be roses and all that. But yeah, so going back to your question, I think it's about like variation. And I think a big thing we have to like sort of fight for is intelligent conversation. Is actually teaching, maybe that becomes, like if we go back to education, that becomes a subject of like, because I remember we did a class on like debating about something, like you do in English, like that was one of the modules, but maybe it's on social conversation. Maybe that should be quite mandatory, that should be a thing where I think it's with the kids as well. Like, I mean, we've got to, put our hands up and we've got to change how we pursue things. But I think we have to give kids more credit to actually, they understand a lot of things. And actually we need to be more open with them with that conversation, because we assume that they are kids and they're not going to get it. But actually they're not tainted by life experience. And their egos haven't been damaged yet. Do you know what I mean? Am I still lagging?
When you went off for like a couple of minutes, that's exactly what I said to Charlie. I said it needs to be introduced earlier in schools, because kids are kids, but kids aren't stupid. Like,
no.
They learn most things off the friends, because one friend in the social group is a lot older than what his birth certificate says. So like he knows more, or he's heard more, or he's seen more. And now, if you throw in the factor of social media, a kid who's got an iPhone, I'd say 7, 8, 9-year-old, they have access to basically porn at whatever level it could be. Instagram, Twitter, it's all over the shop. So then does that cement in their head already that sort of toxic environment that women are just objects on my screen, which I just click like. And me and you are hoping for like the next generation, because we're up here now, so our kids should be then taught a lot better, a lot more like understanding of the situation. But because of social media and because of how easy it is to access everything on there, are we not just creating more of a culture where this will continue?
I think that's the other thing is, I remember there's a TED talk on like pornography, and I think pornography plays a big part in how people have sex and stuff. And and that's another thing is like, you watch porn and you think, oh, that's what I like, I like a bit of choking, I like a bit of this, and it's like, okay, do I? And then you try those things with partners. I mean, I've never been into that sort of like rough thing at all. I mean, whatever floats your boat. But the thing is, it's what you see in pornography, I think, is a big player into how people are, how males especially then get to that extreme level of sexual harassment, because they see, I think there's been, topics where kids have mimicked what they've seen on porn and then tried to do it to a girl in school. And that's the seriousness of it. I think I'm going off on many different ideas, but I think there needs to be a bit more of a female touch on this conversation. Do you know what I mean? Not on our conversation, the conversation as a whole. The females need to be the ones that educate these young lads, because they're the ones that are the victims of this sexual harassment mostly, if the statistics are that way. But that's how media has shown us. And I think males need to have those conversations with their peers, but when they're taught about these topics, I think it needs to be a female role, because one, the chemistry in that room, as we know as actors, like, when you learn in theatre or anything, the chemistry between two actors, and it's different when females and males interact, but that female will give a different light to that conversation. And the lad won't feel like they're being talked down to and being of a male, and they won't try put on a facade to the conversation, like you said. Like, it won't be lads sitting at the back going, "Oh, shut the fuck up, mate," like, or any of this. It's that mother figure again, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's okay, I've got to listen, because deep down they know they have to respect the female, because a female is a symbol of, I'm going very deep here, but the female is the symbol of life.
It is. I
Do
agree.
you know what I mean? And we all know that you don't need to be taught that, but lads will, I think, be more open to discovering and educate themselves about sexual harassment, especially from a female.
I'd hope so. I'd massively hope so, because, like, me and Charlie were saying that we suggested, like, an influential lad in the school system should be the one who's given the chat, because then, like, sometimes we do listen to, like, an older lad who's been done that. But I totally agree with you there that it should be also a woman involved there to give her experiences, her life experiences, and because of how much we value our mums. But then, as soon as you said that, something clicked in my head where I was like, you're right, those are our mums, and yet that crazy stat of 97% of women have had some sort of experience with it. I just keep thinking, how can you do that? That's someone's mum, that's someone's sister, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you just think, if that was my mum, if that was my sister, and how can lads not have that respect towards someone that birthed them, that literally give them life, and yet they're going out in 20 plus years later, or like whatever the age limit is, and they're going to violate someone like that? And I've seen many women's stories, and it honestly says they'd rather be dead than to go through that again.
Yeah.
And that's it's so hard to put into words, because, like, we won't go through that, or it's very unlikely that we will go through that. I just keep thinking about, imagine being pinned down and not having nothing to do about it.
Exactly.
Completely violated. Like, it honestly turns me stomach. Like, I can't even put into words, like, how like violated, like, that female must feel. And that's on the extreme level, of course. And we can discuss catcalling, getting into taxis, groping. There's many different forms of sexual assault. I just think a large group of lads, and I do the same thing, by the way, like, I will definitely go off on a little tangent, so I'm in the same boat as you.
No.
I just think a lot of lads don't think it's sexual harassment. No matter how big, no matter how small, they just think it's part of life, it's how I speak to women, etc., etc. So if that's ingrained so much in their brain, it's not going to move forward anytime soon. It's not going to happen within the next 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years potentially. Do you know what I mean? Even though I wish it would, I pray to God it does. But how?
This is the difficult situation, because it's a conversation where you think, well, where's that golden ticket? Like, where's that solution? Like, you can't. I think you can reduce it, but hopefully you can reduce it. But I think we're quite, like I said I did a bit of writing, and I said in this piece of writing, when we're living in a time of liberation, like 2020, 2021,
Yeah.
are quite liberating years, because it's a force of change, and we're seeing that on social media in many different industries. And I think if people realize just that this is like a time where we can't rewind and go back to old ways, that this is the conversations you don't want to have, we've got to have.
Mm-hmm.
This is like the years where we could name this the sit down chat. Like, you've got to have these conversations because something's gone wrong, you know, COVID or not. I'm not going to relate to COVID or whatever, but we won't say the C word. These are times of tough conversations. And I think my strong belief is, being raised by females, is that in this scenario, even if it's lads, like we use the scenario, that haven't had a strong female figure, if they go to school, they need that. I'm not saying, right, the employers of the school have got to employ a really influential female, but I think they need to, I don't know, it's really hard to say. Like, I would like to say, like, I would say to a female, say, you have the power to change this lad's perception on how we should change females. I'm not saying I'm brushing my hands of the situation, but I'm saying you could really change this young lad's perception of how we perceive women. If I go on a personal note, I won't say any names or anything, but like with my mom in relationships, my sister in relationships, they've had good and bad. But when you watch a relationship, when you're watching from the outside, you see all the bad things, all the good things. And even in normal conversations, you don't even have to relate to anything sexual. It could be even how you have a conversation with someone that is like, okay, I can see there's no respect there. You don't respect the person's opinion enough, things like that. I think it's just I think it's lads need to check themselves and say, I'm not superior to this other person, because I think that's where it comes in, that they think that they are superior to the other sex, so they then feel they have the right to talk that way or act that way.
Yeah.
And I think that's the nitty gritty of the conversation, is you need to check your ego, because we're on the same level. I know that sounds a bit like hippy dippy, like we're all.
I totally agree.
But what do you think?
I totally agree with that statement in regards to we are on the same level, and even if you're 13-year-old and your 13-year-old lad and your 13-year-old female friend was not even giving you advice because like you haven't really like lived anything yet, but just talking to you on like a level, because obviously if we all think back to when we're 13, 14, we would all like to think we were mature. So, and of course, do you know what I mean? But like,
we laugh at ourselves now, don't we?
Exactly. But were we mature enough to have that conversation where there was 13-year-olds sat at break time at school and they just talking about like experiences with the opposite sex, how it should be, how it shouldn't be, how movies aren't real, how porn isn't real. You've got to, as you say, you've got to figure it out for yourself, and that comes through conversation. It doesn't come through action in regards to I'm going to take what I want because I am superior. It's going to come through just have a conversation first, exactly how it relates to the whole whining on someone like subject we touch upon. You shouldn't just go and whine upon someone. You should have the conversation first, then potentially it could progress into that. But it has to be an open dialogue first of all. And I think lads particularly don't understand consent. Do you know what I mean?
Interesting.
They know what consent is. Clearly not because of the stats, but they just don't understand the whole consent thing. They don't understand no. I hear a lot of, yeah, but she really wants it. I see a lot of lads mentioning, well, she gets half undressed on Instagram anyway, so she's open for it, she's up for it. But I just think women now, within the last 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 years, are just taking the power back of their bodies. They're now making money from it. They're now using it as a tool to progress their life, to progress where they want to get to. And yet it's us, the lads, who are stuck in the caveman mentality of, I am man, she is woman, she is mine. And like, women are progressing further than us in regards to intellectually, body-wise, physically. They are overlapping us, and we are stuck behind, and we're acting out in a primal manner, when we should just look at that and think, your body, you can do whatever you want with it. I'm not going to do whatever I want with it because it's your body, and I'm going to respect that. And I think because lads see women post all this stuff on Instagram, all this sort of stuff in that, they think that's an open invitation to message them something vulgar, to search out something horrific in regards to an action. And if that hurts the ego, like you said, it could potentially result into something horrific. You could become another stat. And that's not what you want.
I think, yeah, it's like the words. It's the words that we use. I mean, I have my opinions on where we're going with language, but like writing in general, like the lingo you use between the lads. I remember, a big thing in the UK is we say birds, don't we? Oh, the birds. I didn't used to say that. I might have like slipped up and said it a couple of times, not thinking. But most of the time, when I'd say to my mum, "Oh, like we were chilling with the ladies," like we're chilling with the ladies the other night, she'd go, "Oh, I like that. Like you call them the ladies, not the birds."
Yeah.
And it's just simple things like that. Like, okay, what words are you using to describe? Because that's how we communicate. How do you describe the situation? What words are you using? What lingo are you using? How can you change it up? Some people refer to other human beings as sisters and brothers,
I love that, by the way.
Yeah. And that brings you to something else. That brings you to a different feeling. If you go, oh, I'm chilling with my sisters. Oh, I'm chilling with my bros. Obviously you have to build that relationship before you say that. But it's like, okay, what words are we using within our like conversations? How can we change that? And like you said about the older lad, and I actually thought, yeah, the older lad in, let's say, the school environment. I remember when we were at school, like our head teachers or whatever would say to us, you're in you're in your last 2 years of school now, so you have to be a role model to the younger kids.
Yeah.
You're the mature ones now. And it's like, okay, a bit guidance, I think this is another thing. I've watched things on where lads don't have like a good male figure. Like they don't have that really good role model that's like what a man is. Do you know what I mean? We do, our social media is, I know we joked about Geordie Shore and suntans for this, but like in our generation, when we were like, at school, Geordie Shore, all those reality TV shows, they basically condoned that sort of behaviour. The lads bumping and grinding, how many girls have you shagged, all this.
Yeah.
And even the girls were eating up. And I was like, I had like this superstition. I was like, if I watch Geordie Shore, I'm going to pull.
Yeah.
I was like, and then I laughed at myself because I went, what? Like, that is ridiculous. Like, I don't need to watch this shit. Like, we're from the entertainment, we're, performers. So our art has to show some importance on this conversation.
Yeah.
Creators have a really important job role in what they're showing because people relate to art, but yeah.
I think what you said there at the very start about changing the language, I've never thought about it in that retrospect, but I honestly think that could have a big impact on what we're discussing. I really think it could change the value, change the meaning of what you're saying about your peers around you and the opposite sex. Don't refer to them as me missus, the bird.
Yeah, I don't like that remark, the missus.
Like, that's something I used to put in my phone as saved as like my girlfriend, like the missus. That's what I would use growing up. I 100% would. I'd hold my hands up and say, I probably, well, I know I wouldn't say that now. But it's such a commonly used phrase, the missus, the wife, or the wife's at home, that sort of stuff, where it shouldn't be the wife's at home. It should be like, I don't know, like Haley's at home, or this girl's at home. Just name her because she's got a name and she's got values there. Where I think lads very much like to protect what they have at home and don't refer to them as an actual human. It should just be the missus, the wife, like all that sort of stuff. But I think that would change massively. Just calling my sister the lady, like I love that, like chilling with like the ladies. You know what I mean? Like it's nice to me.
Yeah.
That sounds like respectable. But I also can see another side of it where another group of lads are looking at this conversation saying the ladies, what the hell? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
But again, if more and more people start using that, similar to the whole like Geordie Shore thing, that was a big cultural thing where everyone watched it and it went massive, and then it created behaviors within that. So then, if us as creators, if mainstream media start referring to that as more language, that could shape the next generation to start referring to our sisters, to the female like counterparts as something of importance, because they are on level, if not right now, above us in regards to like the social, like and economic like value that they have massively. One more point I do want to bring up because I have made like a note of it, and it's something like
Yeah, go on.
I have spoke about with a few of my friends. Me and Poppy did that show like Roads to Nowhere, and in that one of the lines in that is, I'm trying to basically tell her to report something that's happened to her in regards to sexual assault form. And she snaps at my character and she just goes, you don't understand, Darren. Reporting it does nothing. And that's what I want to touch upon, is the whole reporting aspect of it. Is it the authorities' fault for not going too much into it and not taking it as serious as it is? Because you've seen with the whole Sarah aspect, like in the news recently, that blew up the media. But is that because it was a police officer and that disrupts the whole hierarchy in regards to, we would never think it'd be a police officer, a man of the law who's taken oath, who's done all these weeks of training, who should be for the people, and he's the one committing this violent act on someone. So it disrupted the hierarchy. So then it sort of like blew up. Do you know what I mean? So then, like, do we need to have new systems in place where the reporting aspect is more of an easy process? Because a lot of females want to report it, but they know it won't go any further. A lot of females don't want to report it because they don't want to relive it.
I think my mom's studying law at the moment, so I have a lot of conversations about the procedures of, reporting things and stuff like that. I suppose it's like there's a big thing now over the past couple of years, petitioning for, change in law.
Yeah.
So maybe it's like a priority thing. Like maybe, I don't know how the law system works within how they file these reports.
Yeah.
That maybe that the law on sexual assault should be more severe. And therefore if that report is shown, it bleeps up, or it sparks up that thing of, shit, this is a level like 200 right here.
Yeah.
This needs to go. I know this is very blasé, but maybe it's the severity of
the consequence.
The verdict. Yeah, the consequence. Like maybe it's that.
I think now, potentially, like, and don't quote me on this, I believe it's something along the lines of, if you are committed of any sort of like sexual assault in regards to like rape, for example, I believe it's something like 13 years you'll get.
Yeah.
Is that enough?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I
Either.
think well then you have to, then you've got the thing of the Central Park Five,
Yeah.
haven't you? Who brilliant series, absolutely brilliant, but harrowing as hell, because what happens if someone gets, I mean, we're going into law now, but how, you know, someone then becomes wrongly accused, that's the other issue. But yeah, reporting, it doesn't do anything. And if that's the opinion, then that's where the social aspect comes in again.
Yeah.
That, you know, someone's suicidal, you can call the Samaritans, can't you?
Yeah.
It's about making people more aware about the facilities they can use. I know there's
out there.
You what? Sorry.
Is there enough facilities out there?
See, you asked me, and then I'm like, I don't know off the top of my head, and that's the problem.
I don't know either.
That's where that awareness needs to be made bigger, because for us as males as well, like we have female friends, like, and we find out about this. Okay, well, you know, what other avenues can they go through if the law's not doing their thing? How can we educate people? Or how can we show awareness of, okay, there's this facilities. Oh, okay, there's like a female law firm that only deals with these situations in the UK. Here's who you can go to.
Yeah.
Because they might be the fact that they're reporting to the same whatever thing it is.
Yeah.
Another thing is, I know there's a film I've watched called Road to Paloma, which is directed by Jason Momoa. It's a really cool indie film, but that's about, it's really cool. But that's about his mother who gets raped and killed by a policeman. So similar scenario, but she's a Native American. So the Native Americans have their own law system, but they can't pass that law because it has to go through state law first. So they can report it to the nation law, but then the nation law has to take it to state law. And a lot of it gets brushed by the wayside.
I can imagine.
And it's all of it's those things. But the reporting things why did that character, that might be a stupid question, but what was the response that Darren had to that when she said reporting doesn't do anything?
It was just, I believe after that was just, you're right, I don't know anything about it. Similar to what we're saying now. We literally don't know anything about it. We put it across as something bad happens, you report it, you move on with it. But as something as horrific as that, and as something as complex as that, for females anyways, it sounds like it's not as easy as just going to the police station, filling out a report form, submitting it, waiting for a few days, and then all of a sudden, boom, the guy's captured, etc., you feel better. It's the actions much worse than the consequence the lad faces. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Because that stays with you for life, that you got violated in that, obviously on the extreme level, in regards to like a rape situation, it stays with them for forever. And I can imagine there's some females out there now who don't want to go near lads, who don't trust lads at all, who have hung up the boots in regards to relationships, to finding love, to finding a partner, which is so sad because like we've abused that fact. And I think it comes back to what I said literally like a few minutes ago, is consent is massively, as we said at the start as well, dialogue is first and foremost. Have an open dialogue, understand what's going on, then get consent. Don't be embarrassed to be like, is this okay? Is this all right? Are we doing this? Can we do this? Is this what's going to happen in this situation? I think we automatically just think it's going to be like the movies, and we're going to run in, have a big sloppy kiss, clothes get ripped off, etc. But it's not like that at all. It's very amateuresque about what happens. So have the conversation, understand we're both in the same boat here. We both might want something because there's been a bit of consent there, but don't just take the fact that I'm a female and I'm in a lovely outfit that I think I look really good in tonight, don't just take that for the fact that I'm a female and I want it, because
Yeah.
that is quite the opposite. But that is what a lot of lads see, isn't it? Is lovely outfit, quite short, quite attractive. She wants some her. Let's go and make my move. But it's not about that. It's respecting the opposite sex and understanding your role in it as well. Being like, I know I'm the man. I know I can't violate anyone because that's someone's daughter, that's someone's sister, that's someone's friend. That could be my friend. That could be my girlfriend if I play my cards right. Just
Yeah.
don't fuck it up. Don't put yourself in that situation. Um, I'm shook to the core with the stats. I'm shook to the core that when I went to university, most girls I spoke to, I've had an experience of sexual assault, of sexual harassment, and that shook me because that's something I don't know about you, but until I was 21, I didn't know that most females went through this. I didn't have a clue.
Yeah, this is why I was advocating for more of that female figure, because have you got sister or anything?
Yeah, 14 year
So
old,
you what? Sorry.
14 as well. So it's getting to that.
Okay. So my female figures have been all older, so they've had the experience and they've been told. Like I know of like those. I've known about those situations from being quite young.
Yeah,
And I think like you're saying, like, I know it was 21 before I started to figure out that actually this is pretty bad. You know, this is much worse than I thought. Obviously, there's a degree of like you've got to protect the kids because they're still children and they have the right to be
so
innocent still. You know, but that's why I still advocate for that female figure. Like those older female figures will shape how you think about women. I think that for me, that I think that's my only solution with how a lad's perception changes.
it's through like a female figure.
Who they can respect, and because now we're seeing that females are more assertive themselves in society. You know, they're not just going. You know, it's not the 50s. They're not. It's not the whole kitchen sink.
Yeah,
You know, scenario. You know, most leading female figures they're leading the economic world. You know, where you know that's how our world revolves, and people think, oh, it's probably a man, but it's not. It's mainly females, and it's stuff like that. It's like you say, they're changing, and there's a big portion of males that aren't changing with the times, which has just made me think, because that's probably one of the biggest problems, is that a lot of lads are stuck in that scenario.
100%. I reckon what we just said there is like, what can we do? Is what you said at the start, is from a lad's perspective, if any lads out there like would watch this or are going to watch this or whatever it is what you can do is just talk to each other. Don't just think it's all right. Have an open dialogue with your brothers, with your sisters, with your family, with your friends. Do your research. Have a look what consent is. Actually go to the bare bones of it and actually read up the meaning of what consent actually is. Talk to your friends in school. If you are 12, 13, 14-year-old, talk to your friends in school, trying to understand their perspective, their experiences, and move from that. Don't just assume something's all right. As you say, times are changing now, and we need to change with the time, especially lads. And I think it's very important that we do stuff like this. People don't want to have a voice on social media, which is fine. Like you can do whatever you want on social media, but when it comes to something that you believe in and you want to impact change, just say something, express your opinion, because you might not think it makes a difference, but someone might see that and think, sound, he spoke out, I might speak out, I might share this post, all that sort of stuff. Do you know what I mean? I think people are very anti putting stuff on social media, when if it's something serious and something they believe in, just say something, say it out loud.
Yeah, I second that. Say out loud. I think whoever is going to watch this, just take the plunge. You know, we're both from the acting world. Acting world's very, it's a vulnerable place. And when you speak those words, you're putting yourself on the plank, you know, you're walking the plank. And I think we all need to walk the plank and jump in.
We do need to walk the plank, mate.